So, hello and welcome back to the Champ.ie podcast, episode number 43, season number 5, as we look ahead to Aintree Day 2. Aintree Day 1, look, a couple of winners for us, Ronan. I think all in all, it was a tricky day, but we're proud to be back in association once again with Boyle Sports, our betting partner, Syndicate Racing, the syndicate that will get you to the big days for very affordable prices. Goran Park Racecourse, the premier racecourse in the southeast of Ireland. Don't forget, of course, the Goran Classic on the June bank holiday. A race that I'm really looking forward to, Ronan, and KCLR radio station, the big radio station in the southeast of Ireland, down in Carlow and Kilkenny. Right, race number 1 on Aintree Day 2 is, of course, the Mildmay Novices Chase Grade 1 event. I found this a tricky contest, Ronan Groome. Look, I know the way you're thinking, that's 9-4, top of the market. Chianti Classico, winner of the Ultima 7-2. Iroko finished 5th in the Turners on its first run for quite some time, and only its second run over fences 4-1. Hartwood has been back 9-2. What do you make of it?
Tricky race, you're right, Basil, but very good race. You couldn't root out all 6 of them, and then it's intriguing for that. They're all under 10-1, and rightfully so. I know the way you're thinking. Derek O'Connor, how good was he today on the McManus horse? It's on the line, and he was excellent on. I know the way you're thinking at Cheltenham, but that was a big Cheltenham field that went really fast. And he held them up there at the back. This is a small field around Aintree. I just wonder would that catch him out a bit. But he won that day like a graded horse, didn't he, in a handicap? He absolutely bolted up. Can see why he's favourite. The one I thought was overpriced, Basil. I thought Hartwood was overpriced initially when the prices came out, but they've really come for him now. It's interesting he comes here instead of goes for a handicap. He's 148 in Ireland. So he would have had loads of options. So it's interesting that they come here. And he won really well at Leopardstown. But Giovinco, I just thought, was the one who might just be a tiny bit overpriced at the moment. Like, big decision to go for the Grade 1, but he kind of indicated there with a big run in third behind Fact to File. Obviously would have went very close on that running in the Ultima. So I'd say he's right beside Chianti Classico, that sort of line. So I can't have Chianti Classico that much shorter than him. He obviously won at Aintree earlier in the season's course and distance, so I can see him running better than odds of 9-1 with Boyle Sports suggest. So that would be my way into the race.
The one I liked in the race, Ronan Groome, was actually Chianti Classico. I think probably the best line of form for me coming into the race is the Ultima. Look, he's 3 from 4 over fences. I thought he always travelled like the best horse in the Ultima. He was up there, he was prominent. He's quite a good jumper. On ratings, look, in my view, he should be the best rated in the race. You look at, I know the way you're thinking, he's been put up £13 officially, but a British handicapper. I think the Ultima form looks stronger than the Kim Muir form. And just looking at, I suppose, the other runners in the race, Iroko and Broadway Boy, they've had messy seasons. I think both have questions to answer. Iroko, I fancied him at Aintree last year. He didn't get the job done. I suppose trainer comments would suggest that he's going to strip fitter and come forward, which is probably only natural. Broadway Boy had a lung infection. That's not ideal preparation. The cheap pieces have gone on for this first time. I just think Chianti Classico, he's only 7 years of age. He'll be able to take a lead off the likes of Broadway Boy, give him a good toe into the race. In a small field, could be that bit more effective as well. I think he's a classy horse. And, on ratings, I think he has to be banged there. Kim Bailey, I think his horses are running better now than they were at the beginning of the season. And Chianti Classico for me at 7-2. I think he's a solid one in the race. And I just wonder, I know the way you're thinking, I just wonder, is that a false rating, 158? Thoughts on his rating?
I know the way you're thinking. I get it. I can see what you're saying. Up £13 for a handicap that might have just fallen apart at Cheltenham. The way they went real quick and not many of them could go the pace. I think that's fair enough. And yeah, he could just be better than them. I know the way you're thinking. They're all really progressive, aren't they? He could be anything, but my niggle at the price would be the different type of test that Aintree is.
Moving on to race 2, Ronan, probably the first of the tricky handicaps on day 2 of the Aintree Festival. And look, it is over the 2 miles and 4.5 furlongs. 6-1 the field. Anything stick out for you?
It does, yeah. I like this theatre man, and I'm sure you will be positive on him as well. I think you were on him, weren't you, for the plate, and obviously not great there coming down early in the race, but he was very positive in the market that day. They really came for him in what's obviously always a very hot betting heat. Crebily was was up to the top of the market there as well. The two of them are pretty hot, and Creberty went on to finish second, and he obviously came down. He's going over hurdles now, but like he's generally lightly raced anyway. Like he only had 4 starts over hurdles before going over fences, and he did quite well there. I think he won twice. He won on soft ground, won over this sort of trip at Kempton. This season, like his form is just really, really good. The form in particular, I mean, is the Ginny's Destiny second there over fences at Cheltenham. Like that reads really well. Unusually in Britain, usually the handicap mark over hurdles moves with the mark over fences, but you think you can run off 133 here. Handles soft ground, trip fine, lightly raced 8-year-olds. Just thought he had a lot in his favour, and price around 9-1 was fair enough.
Yeah, I actually thought the favour had a super chance. Smells like a bit of a plot for the Skelton team. Katira 6-1. Look, if you look through its novice form, it was quite progressive last year and wasn't beaten all that far by Irish Point, who's obviously been just touched off of the Champion Hurdle this year. Only 3.5 lengths. That was in the grade 1 over 2.5 at Aintree at this exact same meeting. So obviously has come down in the ratings this season with close enlisted company, and we finished third of 6 runners. Never really put into the race at Wetherby of 138, but it's now rated 136. I think this is its ideal trip. Skelton's absolutely flying it at the moment, and just smells like a little bit of a plot. 2 of its 4 victories on the racecourse run has been on soft ground as well, and has a reasonably nice racing weight at 6-1. Look, I could see this going off a lot shorter. Dan Skelton in his comments just mentioned about Katira that this race has been in mind for quite some time. Let's continue on swiftly. The top novices hurdle. I don't know about you, but I'm taking on the supreme form here. Are you?
No, I don't think so. I think if they run up to their merit, it'll be between the two of them again. Mystical Power, Firefox. You obviously have Mr. GIF in there as well. So I'll let you make the case against them, but I'll make the case for them. I just thought I'm with Firefox here. I just thought I went back and watched the Supreme again at the time. I remember watching it at the time, and Jack Kennedy came in, and he was doing the thing on ITV to do with the beaten jockeys, and said, "Geez, that got badly impeded. I thought I would have won." And I said, "Calm down, Jack. He's beaten about 8 lengths or something like that. He was actually only beaten 5 lengths in the end." And I can actually see what he means. Like he got absolutely mullered by Mr. Gift just before the last. Lost all momentum, had to be checked around again, and he's only actually ended up being beaten 3.5 lengths by the second there, Mystical Power. I definitely think he would have finished in front of Mystical Power and might have gone close to winning Firefox. Whatever the case would be, it's a step back in the right direction. Of course, like Firefox is a huge touted horse at the start of the season, beat Ballyburn at Fairyhouse, and then the wheels came off at Naas. So whatever about the merits of the race, it was definitely a step back in the right direction. They've gone back 2 miles soft ground here. I think he at least should be a lot closer to Mystical Power in the betting, and I think that might end up being the case tomorrow. Respect to mares, and I think you like one of them. I think this track will suit both of them, to be honest with you. I think they're both quick mares, turn of foot, so I think they could go well. But I just think Firefox will be closer to Mystical Power in the betting tomorrow. So in and around 3-1, 7-2, I thought he was worth playing.
Yeah, good to see Gordon get on the board today as well, of course. Jerry Kalam, I have to say, surprised me. But Firefox, of the 2 runners top of the market who both ran in the Supreme, I'd certainly be with him. I thought he was the eye catcher. Obviously, for very, very short a room approaching the last flight, and he'd be the one I'd take out of the 2 of them. But I just don't think Ronan Groome was the strongest Supreme. And just looking at the mare's novice hurdle form, golden ace for me. I mean, it's worked out well. Jade de Grugy has come out and ran very well, and went on to win at the Easter Festival. I didn't think things went to plan for Jade de Grugy in that particular, at Cheltenham, but I thought golden ace getting £7 here. I mean, she should be bang there on official ratings, getting £7 in a race like this. I suppose that you mentioned the sharper track at Aintree. I do agree with you. She's decent form on soft ground. She's 2 from 2 on soft ground. And look at I suppose the pace angle in the race as well. Lookaway and Firefox, they'll give her a good toe into the race. So there's plenty of pace on in this particular race. It'll help her to settle. She travels very strongly in her races. She was absolutely tanking, swinging for home. But I think in particular what impressed me was off the back of the last, how she's picked up. I mean, she's went away from Brighter Days Ahead, and they were raving about her and Jade de Grugy coming into Cheltenham. I don't think it was a fluke whatsoever. She's 10-1. I mean, she's a double figure price for a yard that are banging form, 27% strike rate at the moment for the Jeremy Scott team. I just thought there was lots to like. 10-1. Obviously, you have the 8 runners in here, so you're getting the 3 places. If all 8 run, I think she's a crack at each way bet at 10-1.
Granger and Patrick Mullins.
McGree had justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front was ready for John McConnell and Evan Carvey.
Western victory, Silverland. That'll be the finishing order.
So moving on to race 4 on the card on day 2 of the Aintree Festival. The 3:30 is the Melling Chase Grade 1 event. Ronan Groome, I've been crying out for Jambon to step up to 2.5 miles for quite some time. And when he does, even though he has stepped up, I'm taking him on. Are you?
I'm not taking him on, but I'm not playing the race either, so I won't take up too much time on it, Basil. But if I have one strong opinion on the race, it's like I don't really know how to read John, but I don't know which one we're going to get. Obviously, positive Nicky having a winner today, so the team might be back on an even keel. Definitely taking a step in the right direction. But John Bon, obviously, the jump poorly the last day, and coming up and trip, yeah, fair enough. He could be better, but I can't get a read on him. One I would be keen to take on is Pick Dory, Paul Nicholls' horse. I just think he beat a couple of horses prepping for Cheltenham last time, the Home Press and High Senior. They had, other targets in mind. It was a funny race. They kind of went in slow behind him, just let him go off and do his thing. It was probably a bit of a mess of a race. He's a bit of a flat track bully. This looks a much better race now. Envoy Allen, I just don't know. I think he's best served fresh and coming here to Aintree, 3 weeks after, he would have been prepped to run for his life at Cheltenham and probably put up a huge performance and just wasn't good enough on the day. Protectorat would probably be, by process of elimination, would be the one I go for, but I'm not going to play the race. I just think it's a bit too trappy and a bit too many question marks about a couple.
Yeah, I'd echo more or less everything you said, Ronan, about the 2 Pick Dory and Envoy Allen. Pick Dory, I think he has a bit to find. Envoy Allen better fresh. Looking at Protectorat, I mean, I struggle to see how Envoy Allen will reverse form. And I think Protectorat's turned into a real 2.5 mile specialist this season. And he seems to be really holding his form, something he didn't do last year. 2.5 miles, Harry Skelton's able to let him rock and roll, use his jump, and he travels strongly in his races. And it was near enough a career best in the Ryanair Chase last time out. So I think given the fact that he is holding his form this year, and Dan Skelton has said that in his comments, he's thriving on his racing. I think that's definitely a big positive. And, if the ground is not going to be an issue, he's won 4 times on soft ground. With John Bon, I think in time he's going to be a horse that's going to need a trip. But my worry would be, we haven't seen him for quite a while. He can be buzzy. He can be lit up. It's obviously a festival environment at Aintree. And I wasn't blown up. I thought his worst performance of the season did come last time out. And obviously we didn't see him at the festival due to the Henderson form. So I would be taking him on first time up at a festival over 2.5 miles. So I'm going to take him on. Protectorat for me. I think once again, he's a solid one. 11-4 in the betting. And I'll take him for the Melling Chase 3:30 at Aintree. The 4:05 is the Topham Handicap Chase. Now, Ronan Groome, I know you love these puzzles. I'm sure you found one at a price here, have you?
I found a couple. If you keep me to one, I'm going to go with Life in the Park, Henry de Bromhead. One of my horses to follow or to take out from Cheltenham. Those beaten horses, when you sit down and you watch all the races back, or well, I do anyway, and try and see what was in behind that ran well and might be one for the later spring festivals. I just thought he really caught the eye, racing in the plate. Like if you look at the plate down the years, the British trainers have a great record in it. They usually farm it, and you kind of have to ask yourself why is the case. And it's more or less, I think, the strongest kind of course and distance form that there is. That 2.5 miles at Cheltenham. So all the British horses that run in those 2.5 mile kind of 2-5 races around the new course and the old course all season, they all get loads of practice. And you saw it again this year. Shake 'em Up Barry was a previous course and distance winner, and there's loads of them in there, in the top 10, the likes of Ilrido. So he fared the best of the Irish, really, and just got a bit of pace coming down the hill on his first kind of chance at this at the 2.5 at Cheltenham. Got a bit of pace coming down the hill, ran on up it, career best probably. Comes in here now off a mark of 140. Not many miles on the clock for a 7-year-old. You can mark him up for that effort at Cheltenham. I just thought he was interested in Rachel Blackmore and Henry de Bromhead. The other one, I'll just give a very quick mention to Basil. The one right down the bottom there, Frero Bamboo. I'm not absolutely sure he stays this sort of trip. I think that it could be well worth taking a chance on him back down a trip at some point. But again, he ran 6th in that race at Cheltenham in behind Shake 'em Up Barry. It's a good effort. He ran well here earlier in the season behind Jess Kill. That was a big run. So he handles the kind of test that it is, defences. He'll be thereabouts, I think, and he's handicapped to go well again. He'll handle the ground. Whether he absolutely gets home, I do have a slight doubt, but 16-1 I just thought was a little bit big for him as well.
Yeah, Pharaoh Bamboo certainly has been a friend of the podcast in the past, but Venetia Williams' horses can be a little bit streaky. One winner, I think, from her last 20 odd runners, might be a slight concern about him. Willie Mullins, on the other hand, going from strength to strength, 2 winners today as we're recording, and he's won the Topham twice in the last 4 years, so tends to target one at the race. And I have to say, Paul Townend on board, this James de Burle, has really interested me in a race like this. And I just think there's a big pot in this horse, Ronan Groome. He's, if you look at, I suppose, his rating, he's £7 lower over fences. He's ran consistently well without winning this season. Obviously ran into Hartwood at Leopardstown before finishing 7th in the plate. He's a particularly good jumper. He travels well in his races. And I think he's exactly the type of horse that probably doesn't quite stay 3 miles, but 2.5 miles. He's a strong staying 2.5 mile horse on a good mark. And, I don't think the ground is going to be an issue. He won twice on heavy ground in France before even transferring to Willie Mullins, and he's obviously gone on soft. So, with the extra rain, I think, is there tonight? I saw 4 mils scheduled between now and racing tomorrow as we're recording. That won't inconvenience him. And I can only see his price shortening as well, Ron. I mean, he's priced up at the moment at odds of 8-1. He's come in from a double figure price. I think 8-1 is more than fair. And I could see him going off close to favourite with PT in the saddle. So James de Burle, just looking at the shape of the race as well. Look, Shake 'em Up Harry. He's had a hard race, I think, at Cheltenham. Life in the Park, obviously, and look at Your Darling as well. That was the one for Ben Pauling that did interest me. If the ground was a little bit nicer, I think the ground would have to be a concern for him. Say Your Darling, but James de Burle for me in the 405, 440 Ronan Groome race 6 on the card is the Sefton Novices Hurdle. What do you make of this?
Yeah, tricky little one. Just with the horse like Reed Tommy Wrong bombing out at Cheltenham. And you have like Crow Park coming here fresh is interesting. Crow Park, who you quoted as a future future leader of the
Ward Hunt Union.
The Ward Hunt. He'd be jumping the banks of County Meath maybe in the future, but gets a chance here at Grade 1 glory for Gordon. Interesting, I suppose, comes here fresh. Probably will enjoy the trip. 3 miles. It was a funny race, wasn't it, Albert Bartlett? Just the way they went through it. Jukebox Jury and Stellar Story obviously getting off in front, and they never really got back to them, didn't they? Jukebox Jury unlucky in the day, or sorry, Jukebox Jury, the Jukebox Man, Jukebox Jury probably the sire. Didn't come back to them at the day. It was an unlucky loser. Probably just idled a bit in front after the last. I can see why he's favourite here. I'll give a positive mention to the horse that was second at the Pertemps. Kintara, like he has a bit to find, but that was near career best in the Pertemps. He's got course and distance winning form, handles soft ground, comes in here in good shape. I could see him running okay. You could possibly look at backing him each way. A few of these, I just don't know how to trust a few of these just coming out of that race at Cheltenham. It was a funny race. There doesn't seem to be an absolute star there, so I wonder if Kintara might be able to trouble them. And in a tricky kind of race, I thought he might be the angle in each way.
I thought the Jukebox Man, he led everywhere bar the line. I thought he was quite impressive without winning at Cheltenham in truth. And I thought there was every chance he idled coming up the straight. He made a mistake at the second last coming down the hill, and he made a mistake at the last. So, he idled. So I think if you look at, I suppose, the overall performance, he jumped out, he travelled, he stayed, and he jumped well the whole way around bar the last two. Obviously, Ben Pauling, I don't think this season he's even dipped below 30% in terms of a strike rate. Harry Redknapp, obviously, loves his runners at these spring festivals, at the moment. Obviously, Shake 'em Up Harry won for him, and this horse finished second for him at Cheltenham. I think he's the rightful favourite. I think, in truth, I thought, an easier, 3 mile on this type of ground should be fine for him. He's by ask, by the way, not the jukebox. Jury, I'm confusing myself now. The jury, the jukebox jury. But I suppose Ben Pauling, he obviously has taken out the last as we're recording, with Diva Luna and Keelan Woods. They're on the board at Aintree already. This horse, look, I suppose if you look back at the last 3 renewals of this race, a High Seigneur won it from the front, and so did Apple Away last season. So I think it tends to suit front runners, this particular race, the Sefton at Aintree. An easier 3 miles, as mentioned. The ground will be fine for him. And I thought you could mark up his performance, even though he was ran down in the finish at Cheltenham. So I'm going to side with the Jukebox Man for Ben Pauling. And look, he's twice placed at Grade 1 level this season. I think he'll get off the mark in Grade 1 company tomorrow, should I say, day 2 of Aintree. Right, the concluding race, 5:15. It is for the conditional jockeys and the amateur riders, Class 2 handicap, over the 2 miles, Ronan Groome. This is tricky now. 19 runners. You've surely got a couple buried away at prices here.
Just one, Basil, but I like him. It's probably going to be one of your better bets of the day. Affodil here for Paul Nicholls. I just think this horse is getting a bit underrated because he nicked a few lengths at the start in the county hurdle, but I think he still ran a really big race there. It's all well and good if you're like a 5-1, 6-1 shot, nicking a few lengths and finishing 5th. This horse was 40-1 going into the county hurdle, which gives you kind of an impression of what he was.
It was a strong county hurdle as well, by the way.
Which?
It was a very strong county hurdle, I thought.
Yeah.
Smaller field, but a strong race.
He was a 40-1 shot there, despite coming in off a win at Musselburgh. Beat an often well-touted Gordon Elliott horse there, Zandabad. Not Gordon Elliott, Tony Martin horse there. So, look, I think coming here in a flat track will suit him. As I said, he won at Musselburgh. I just think he's a bit underrated because he nicked a few lengths. He still stayed on to finish 5th. As you say, the top 2 in the county hurdle, like the second was definitely well in, and Absurd, obviously, you see what he's doing on the flat and was probably kept for the race as well. Went through the field like a knife through butter. I just think it was a big run. This probably race, although it's a bit deeper looking or looks as competitive, it's probably not as good quality wise. And he's progressed nicely through the season, Affodil, and I just think he's been a little bit kind of forgotten about here. People maybe just assuming, or the odds compilers maybe just assuming that he's a bit overrated on that run. He did get an easy lead, of course, in Cheltenham, but there's no reason why he can't get to the front here and put up a good show again. So I'll be taking him each way, hopefully with a decent place terms in the race.
Yeah, 10-1, and I have to say it's snap, Ronan Groome, in the nightcap on day 2 of Aintree. I have to say I thought Affodil had a really decent chance. Of course, heavy ground as well on the Friday. Probably not going to be as testing, and an easier 2 miles with Freddie Ginger on board. I have to say, I think he definitely makes appeal at that sort of a price. If obviously he was back in 5th, but they've more or less finished in a bunch behind the front 2. So obviously Loda Sud, I think he was very well handicapped coming into the race, and Absurd, as you mentioned, the winner of the race. I think, the form looks quite strong. If you look at, obviously the 3rd and the 4th was Pied Piper and Favre. They've been both laid out for the race. And obviously they were 1st and 2nd, I think, in the county hurdle the previous year. And Affodil was back in 3rd, and Magical Zoe was in the mix there as well. And obviously she had some decent Cheltenham form as well, being 2nd in the Mayor's Novice the previous season. So I think that form probably looks the best form coming into a race like this. An easier 2 miles, looks a weaker race. And Paul Nicholls likes to target one at this race as well, Ronan. In 2002, he won it with a 5-year-old as well, Hacker to Play. And I just think Freddie Ginger, full value for the £5 in a race like this. He's plenty of experience. off 130. Don't forget, you didn't mention, Ron, he was a pound out of the handicap as well when finishing 5th in the county. Affidel.
There you go. He'll get a pound back now, and he'll be okay. It could make all the difference.
Yeah, so there you go. So that is episode number 43 of the Champ.ie podcast for the season. Day 2 of Aintree, that's that preview, Ronan. Hoping for more winners tomorrow as we're recording on Thursday. And we'll be back, of course, tomorrow evening to give our Grand National selections and picks for day 3 of the Aintree Festival. Before we finish up, Ronan Groome, your nap and next best for day 2 of Aintree?
I was just about to say, Basil, are we napping the next best? And I'm going to nap Firefox 255 and next besting Theatre Man in the race before that, the 220.
Yeah, well, I'm going to nap Ben Pauling's horse in the Sefton. I'm going to go with the Jukebox Man. I think at 3-1. I think he's the rightful favourite. I think he won't be far away for a stable, very much in form all season, not just at the moment. And Affidel, let's put him in there for a next best each way, 10-1. I don't think he'll be far away in the nightcap on day 2 of Aintree. And I have to say, I thought Protector was the one to beat for the Skeltons in the Melling Chase over 2.5 miles. So looking forward to it, Ronan Groome. And any, I suppose, early fancies, don't spoil it, but have you had a look at the National as of yet?
I've had a right crack at the National today once the decks came in. I haven't come down completely on my top 2, I suppose, so we'll save that till Saturday. But interesting to hear today, the great man was on after It's on the Line 1 and has said he has announced that he has backed, of his 4, he has backed Limerick Lace. And that's obviously why Mark Walsh is on her back. She's £6 well in, so very, very interesting. She'll have to prove she stays, but I am interested in her. She's definitely on my shortlist.
Yeah, well, our national picks to come tomorrow evening, so stay tuned. And let us know your selections down below. Of course, post your selections for day 2 of Aintree down below. And we look forward to seeing you exact same time tomorrow, looking ahead to the national.